Hey folks, it's Dr. Brenda, founder of the Gutsy Women Club and the Gutsy Women Finances community, sociologist, financial coach, full-time RVer, traveling the country with my 3 cats. All right, hey, if you don't subscribe, please do so. I'd really appreciate it if you already subscribed. Thanks for following my channel. I've got a confession to make. Okay, guys, I'm the queen of planning. I like to plan. And I have to plan because this whole RV journey, man, it is getting more and more difficult to find space, to find affordable campgrounds, availability. And I'm coming at you February 3rd, I think today is, early February, and I'm already booking campgrounds into October. Yeah, into October. All right, so here's 2 things that I really screwed up on, guys. One is, well, things happen. So I use RV Trip Wizard, and I am going to actually walk you through my summer plans, because part of this is like to show you what the costs are, at least for the way that I like to camp. And so I'm going to give you the costs of, the summertime. What am I going to be paying for the summer? Summer is peak time. Got to make your reservations. Izzy says hello. Hi, Izzy. Izzy's doing really well. Isabella, good girl. So you got it. Summertime is the most expensive for sure. Here's what I did. I used RV Trip Wizard. I had some placeholders. So I wanted to spend a month in either Vermont or New Hampshire, probably, July, August, that time of year. And I was going to go make a presentation at the Escapade, the big escapees rally in outside of Nashville, Tennessee, in Lebanon, Tennessee. So I had those dates in my RV Trip Wizard. Okay, like a month, maybe 2 months ago, it's like, wait a minute. I've made a mistake. I was going from North Carolina back down to Tennessee, and it's like, why did I do this? And I'm like, I got the dates wrong. So I moved things around. I changed 2 of my campground reservations, and okay, I'm good to go. Well, this morning, I went online to look at the Escapade to see if registration had opened. It had. I had the wrong dates in RV Trip Wizard. I had the wrong dates. I had them correct originally, and I think when I dumped out one of my campgrounds, it slid up a couple weeks ahead. I had the wrong dates. I've been scheduling around the wrong dates. I cannot do the Escapade. So that's huge. That's big for me. I wanted to do a couple presentations. I wanted to, do the rally, my first one ever. It's not going to work out. Okay, so that's on me. I just, when you're going to show you where I'm going this summer, you're going to see all the juggling involved here. All right. Second thing is that I'm going to be spending a large part of September, if not all of September, in Virginia. I love the state parks there. And the state parks in Virginia have always rolled out their reservation system 6 months in advance. So, I was waiting for things to open. I had gone to their website at one point, and I noticed that they were closing things down because they were moving to a new provider to make those reservations. I hopped on in there yesterday, and I'm like, what's going on? Shenandoah River State Park, that's one of my places. I'm looking, and it's booked out into September. My weekends are all gone there. I'm like, what is going on? What's going on is they switched from a 6-month reservation system to an 11-month system. So now you can make reservations 11 months in advance. Okay, I'm juggling all these different states, have a pretty good handle on, who's doing what, and something like this happens. So I don't have that site. Now I grabbed my other 2 state parks in Virginia, but yeah, I messed up big time on the Escapade in Tennessee, and I messed up with that change in the Virginia State Park system, the reservation system. Okay, so I'm going to segue. I'm going to walk you through. I'm going to show you how much I'm spending this summer. Give you, and I wish that I had seen this to get a better sense, because boy, it's You know, you really don't know how much things cost you start until you're out there. So if you haven't started, and if you like to camp like I do with power and with cell service, stick around. I'm going to walk you through my summer itinerary. Okay, hey, don't forget to subscribe. I'm going to see you at the laptop. Okay, so let's take a look at the cost of summer 2022. This coming summer, costs and complications. This is actually my rig and my Jeep. Someplace in 2020, got to park under this majestic oak. So yeah, it's pretty cool. All right, so this is my route for 2022. The tail end is a little bit tentative. I'm coming at you from South Padre Island in Texas, and I'm going to cover the summertime because the summertime is the trickiest time, the most expensive time. It's when everybody's on the road, everybody's traveling. And so that's the period I'm going to cover. I'm going to start on April 30th. That's the way my reservations are set up, and go all the way through September 13th. This area shaded is the area that I will be in. I'm going to be in the Northeast. Come on up into the Midwest. The Southeast, Midwest, Northeast. Come on back down and hopefully make my way back down to Texas next winter. So this is what we're going to talk about. My priorities. All right. Everybody RVs differently. There are people out there who love boondocking. By the way, boondocking is next to impossible in the Northeast and much of the East. Got to really be in the West to boondock. So, and boondocking means, just no power, no water. You're totally self-contained. All right, my priorities. I love the national and state parks and the Corps of Engineer campgrounds. Those are my biggies. Those are my priorities. I really try. I love hiking. I love being by the water. I love trails. I love being outdoors. So that is my priority. The other thing is I've got a business to run. So I have got to have decent AT&T and or Verizon. Those are my two main carriers, actually Cricket and Visible, but and AT&T. Also, yeah, as I said, I'm not a great boondocker. I like to have power. I've got cats. I need the AC running in the summer, heat running in the winter, and preferably water. Certainly water I can do without for a certain amount of time. I've got my own tank, but electric, absolutely. So those are my priorities. So based on your priorities, your expenses are going to be higher or lower. So this is the way I camp. I've been out here since May 2020, and I know what I like and I know what I don't like. Okay, first place I'm going to be. This is like I said. I was starting April 30th. I'm going to spend 10 nights at Crooked River State Park. This is along the coast in Georgia. I booked this probably a couple of months ago. The availability of this park, very, very limited. So I feel pretty fortunate that I got into this park. So I'll be there late April into early May. Crooked River State Park. Pretty okay price, $385 for 10 nights. That's about $38.50 a night. Okay. Now, headed into South Carolina after that. Charleston, South Carolina, James Island County Park. Looks like it's a pretty nice park. One of the complications I did discover in South Carolina is that all of the state parks, maybe most of the state parks along the coast are already booked up for the summer. They've got a pretty long leeway. I'm not sure if it's 10 or 11 months or even a year, but you can book out a long ways in advance. So most of those parks, the state parks, are already booked up. I found a county park, and it's not cheap. It's $68 a night on average. So I'll be there for a week, about $476. From there, I'm going to head inland. So there's a park, looks all right. It's Chester State Park. It's along a lake. So I'll be there for a week. The price of that goes way down, $25 a night. I can get by on $25 a night. That's great. All of these parks that I'm pointing out do accommodate my rig, 32-foot motorhome, and they have power 30 amps at least. So I've got a 30 amp rig. All right. From there, I'm headed to North Carolina. Originally, I wanted to stay at a national campground outside of Asheville. That was already booked up. So I chose a private campground, Land of Waterfalls RV campground. Did a bit of research. I found some other campgrounds where people reviewed them and talked about you can't even take your toe into the campground. You got to drop it below on the bottom of a hill, get your way up. So I'm like, okay. So I really paid attention to reviews, picking out this spot. So that turns into $43 a night. I marked down the holidays. So here, I'm over here over the holidays. And I did that sort of as a prompt so I can remind you guys, whoa, you got a holiday weekend in there. Plan, plan. Get something reserved right away. Don't wait. So you got 3 big holidays. Memorial Day really sets off the beginning of summer. You got the 4th of July. That's crazy in the campgrounds. And then you got Labor Day. So yeah, don't forget that because you got to book those things right away. From North Carolina. Okay, this is where I messed up. I had the campground where the escapade was being held. And then this morning I looked at the dates again and said, this isn't right. This isn't right. So I went to I wanted to go into a Corps of Engineer campground. There's some really nice Corps of Engineer campgrounds. So I checked into their availability. You can get a campground Sunday through Friday pretty much. The weekends come along. Those campgrounds are booked. So the Corps of Engineer campgrounds were booked. So I'm going to try my first state park, Cedars of Lebanon State Park, reasonable price, $34 a night. But yeah, this will give you a sense that here I am in February and things are booked up in June, July, and yeah, it gets worse. I put in a travel day just so that I can budget for it. And I do like to stay at a campground overnight. If I have to boondock in a parking lot, I like Bass outlets, parking lots. But if I have to, I have to. But I put this in the budget because that is my preferable mode. So from Tennessee, I've got family up in rural Wisconsin, so I'm going to drive up to Wisconsin, spend 2 nights in the Madison area, see a few people. That's a county park. And then I'm headed to another county park close to where my family live in Wausau, Wisconsin. My family is outside of Wausau in the country. So I've stayed here before. It's pretty decent. Water, electric, $27 a night. So I'm all booked up there. And I've got a map and I've been to so many different places and I mark it on my my slide out. I put the state in when I hit that state, and I've never been to Michigan in my RV. So I'm like, oh, you know what? I'm going to go up to Michigan. And I got a campsite at Strait State Park. That is I believe, the Mackinac Bridge. So I can take the ferry to Mackinac Island and play around there for a while. I've got 6 nights there. And then I'm coming up on the 4th of July weekend. And it's like, okay, that was, again, a big priority. Got to book this place. And I'm going to choose to stay at Maumee Bay State Park in Ohio. It looks pretty nice. I think I can stay active. So $30 a night, pretty good deal. But again, had to make sure that I got something in place for that 4th of July because availability is very, very slim. 2 travel days. Decided I'm going to just kind of drive through New York. So I've got 2 nights, different places. Because, when I first started RVing, I went too fast. I'm like, oh, three nights, 4 nights, a week here. I didn't realize the amount of effort and energy it took to drive a big rig, towing a Jeep behind, to set up camp, to get ready to get on the road again. So the first summer, I'm like, you know what? I got to slow down. That was COVID summer when COVID first hit. And I couldn't get into Maine, so I spent a month in Vermont, and I'm like, you know what? I really like that. So I'm going to slow down, and I'm going to this time spend a month in New Hampshire. Now, I had a difficult time with this because the campgrounds up there are closed. They close typically in October and they don't open up until May. And that means some of those campgrounds are not monitoring their emails, they're not monitoring their phone. I made several calls, emailed, and a lot of places never got back to me. And I'm like, you know what? It's February. I'm looking for a whole month somewhere, and I'm not going to wait till May to try to find something in July. I know what it's like in the Northeast, man. That space is a hot commodity. So I found a campground that looked pretty decent, New Hampshire, a little bit more than I wanted to pay for the month. And you know what? I think everything has gone up since 2 years ago. It's inflation has hit the campgrounds. I know I didn't pay this much for most places 2 years ago. So it is what it is. It's I'm looking forward to this. It's a Timberland campground. And I love this area. I can do tons and tons of hiking, get my mountain legs in shape. So I'm going to spend a month there. From there, I wanted to camp at Squiddick Woods Campground in Acadia National Park. And I don't know what's happening there either, because they used to have a 6-month window reservation system, so if it was February, I could book into August. If it's February 3rd, August 3rd would become available. Online now, it's 2 months. Okay, these sites are really hard to get, and I'm not going to be online at 8 a.m. and hope I get a site, have the system crash, and not get a site and have no place to stay, because this is really difficult to find a really decent campsite in Maine along Acadia National Park. So I did book something. Again, it's more than what I wanted to pay, averaging about $68 a night. Looks lovely. And most of the other campgrounds were either booked solid or just as expensive. And so, okay, I'm going to do this for $68 a night. But yeah, $676 for 10 nights. From there, my plan is, and this is one I can't reserve yet, there's a Corps of Engineer campground in Connecticut, West Thompson Lake, and so that will be estimated about $215 for a night. And got a travel day, Pennsylvania, put that in there. Labor Day weekend, this is what I was talking about earlier. I'd planned to stay at Shenandoah River State Park. I've stayed there before. It's a lovely park. Both weekends in September, the first 2 weekends in September, solidly booked. There is not a spot available. I love this area, so I'm looking at a couple of options for private campgrounds. This is my estimate. I've contacted one. Right now, that's my backup, waiting to hear from my preference, see what their rate is. But again, this is going to be high expenses, $944 for 14 nights. All right. So what happens when we add this all up? My camping costs, guys, it's almost $6,000. $6,000 from April 30th to September 11th or 13th, I think it is. So $6,000 is about, for 137 nights, about $43.55 per night. And I didn't talk about the fuel. Now, when I first started, I didn't really gauge the extent of how often I'm going to be filling up this tank and how expensive it is. Fuel prices go up. They're outrageous in the West, a little bit better in the East, quite a bit better in the East, at least they were. But every time summer comes along, the demand is high, the price goes up, some type of gouging. So I figured I've got 17 days where I travel in the past. If I fill up this RV tank, maybe it's $100 to $140. I used $120. I figure I'm going to spend like $2,000 just on gas every time I travel. That is one of the reasons why I've slowed down a bit too, because I found every time I moved, I spent another $120. I could have stayed at a campground another couple nights and moved less. So in total, I'm estimating it's going to cost about $8,000 for that long stretch of summer. Again, this is the most expensive time to travel. 8,000 bucks, that's about $1,753 a month. And I will tell you, when I first set out to do this RV life, I had estimated about $2,000 a month. I'm spending more, like, when you think about repairs to the RV, but also your food and going out and doing fun stuff, I'm spending more along the lines of $3,000 a month. And it fluctuates. So every time you saw a state park and it's booked, I've already paid for that. So some of the expenses are incurred up front. And I make up for that in the winter time, where I'm parked for 3 months and I'm paying $600 a month. So, that is the thing about camping, is that the costs are higher during different times of year. But anyway, this is it. So this is what I'm paying. If you're out there and you want to camp like this, just expect those types of costs, but you can't wait to make those reservations anymore. I feel like it's gotten even crazier than when I set out almost 2 years ago. Crazier than last year. It's just you gotta have things planned, you gotta have things scheduled, and then you might mess up, and then you gotta figure out how to work around that mess up. So especially if you're in state or national parks, Corps of Engineer campgrounds, get those sites reserved. All right, I've talked a bit about, I've got the Gutsy Women Club, where women dare to dream and take bold actions to follow their heart's desire. And I also have GutsyWomenFinances.com. So I'd invite you to check both of those out. I'd love to see you, help you with your finances, and inspire you through the Gutsy Women Club. All right, you guys, take care. If you are out there this summer, if you've been making your plans, drop a note in the comments. I'd love to know what your experience has been. Have you screwed up at all yet? And how'd you recover from that? Are my prices similar to what you're paying? You paying more? You paying less? Hey, share that information so we can all learn. All right, that's it. I hope you guys are doing really, really great. Until next time. Bye-bye.